everyone, Darkside Phil here, and welcome to the weekend preview for July 8th, 2012. And what a week we've had this past week, being that it was a unique week. There were really no new major releases. We started basically our summer marathons, and so we're going to review a little bit of what I did this past week, and I'm also going to preview what's coming up this week. This week is another strange week. No retail releases. There was actually supposed to be the release of The Last Story, which is a role-playing game made by the original team who made Final Fantasy. Okay, we're talking the classic Final Fantasies. These guys teamed up again to make a new role-playing game. A lot of hype over it. Guess what? Delayed again. It's supposed to, now it has like a placeholder date at the end of the month. No one's sure when it's coming out in the US. So unfortunately, no new games to play this week. But that's okay, because as always, I have stuff lined up for you that I think you're really going to enjoy. This is going to be a little bit different than last week, and I'll explain how. But first, just to review what happened last week, because there were a couple things, odds and ends, stuck in there maybe people weren't aware of. Spider-Man week. Last week was Spider-Man week, where we celebrated the release of Amazing Spider-Man, the movie, which came out on July 3rd in the United States. And what I wanted to do was take the opportunity that week to play as many Spider-Man games as I could fit within a week's span, including the Amazing Spider-Man game that had just been released, and then try to play a bunch of classic Spider-Man games. And we got through a lot. We actually got through Amazing Spider-Man, which actually took me much longer than I thought it would. It took me 3 full days to beat it, because the game was really freaking long, good 13 to 14 hours long, when you include all the side content that was in the game. I did review that game, so definitely check out my Hateful Truth review. It's actually one of my favorite games of this year so far. Actually, it tied the 2 other games, which I gave the same highest score this year. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you were on the fence, you got to check out Amazing Spider-Man, okay? Then during the course of the week, a couple things happened. Unfortunately, I'm still angry about this, but unfortunately, there was supposed to be the release of a Resident Evil 6 demo this week on July 3rd, I believe. Yeah, July 3rd. And it was going to be the demo from E3 that I had already played, but I wanted to do footage of it, a walkthrough of it. And I was supposed to have the rights to play this demo because I purchased Dragon's Dogma, and I had this pre-release key, code, Xbox Live code, to get it. And then when I went to do it, come to find out, there's fine print on the code paper, though like the 5th or 6th sentence into it, saying that you needed to keep your Dragon's Dogma game to download the demo. Now, is that because Capcom said, oh, the demo's on the disc, like it had happened previously with other games, like Bulletstorm and such? No, that's not the case. In fact, all you need to do is put the Dragon's Dogma disc in, and then it prompts a download from the internet. So basically, Capcom didn't need to do that. The only reason that they did it is to basically trick the consumer to keeping the Dragon's Dogma disc. So number one, they don't trade it in, and it gets resold on the secondhand market, which Capcom feels makes them lose profits because no one's buying it new. But also number two, because they had a string of on-disc DLCs, which they're still releasing today, that you already had on the disc, but they decided to lock until you pay extra money over time to unlock these DLCs. And obviously, if you're keeping the disc till July 3rd to play the Resident Evil demo, there's a bigger chance that you're going to purchase those DLCs. So it's basically a marketing ploy by Capcom to get you to hold on to a game that you probably already beat and don't want to hold on to anymore. I didn't know about this, and unlike other demo releases that had happened in the past, like Halo ODST did it for the Halo Reach beta. Again, Bulletstorm did it for the Gears of War 3 beta. But they had public press releases to the public saying, do not trade in your discs because you need these to play the demo. Capcom didn't do this. They hid the fact within like the 5th line of microscopic fucking text on the voucher that really no one reads anyway. And thousands of people got completely screwed over and weren't able to download the Dragon's Dogma demo. A lot of people said to me, well, Phil, why don't you just go rent Dragon's Dogma? Because you can't. There are no rental stores anymore. I would have had to join a rental service and try to get Dragon's Dogma in order to enable the stupid demo download. So eventually I did get it. I actually have permission to play the demo, and I was able to find it on the internet and basically boot it off of a USB drive, which of course, here comes the controversy. Phil's anti-piracy, but oh my god, he's pirating content. And let me tell you something. There's something called the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. I am anti-piracy spiritually, meaning, yeah, if you're causing companies to lose profits, if you're stealing legitimate products and hurting them financially, that's wrong. If you're owed the ability to fucking play something and a company scams you by hiding some fucking stupid byline bullshit in a paragraph of microscopic text and basically screws over the public, yeah, fuck you, Capcom, because I did make a rant video this week about it, which is why I'm going into so much detail about this. But fuck Capcom for doing that. They don't care about the consumer. It's the management half of Capcom that just doesn't give a shit about their customer. The game developers themselves are great, because let me tell you, I eventually did play the Resident Evil 6 demo. It was fucking great in my opinion. Yeah, it doesn't play like classic Resident Evil, which I'm getting really tired of people fucking whining about that, because I like the new Resident Evil games. They're action-based, but in this case it actually looked like Leon's going to have a more survival horror-based scary campaign with the T-Virus zombies, and you've got 3 characters. It looks like it's going to be going between 3 campaigns. It looks great. The demo's AAA for me. I don't understand why people whine that it doesn't play like classic Resident Evil. If I want to go fucking play classic Resident Evil, I'll go play it. I'm done. I've been there, done that. I think that kind of gameplay is archaic at this point. I'm liking where they're going with this series. But that being said, I love the game, and the development team did a great job. It's a shame that the management team of Capcom doesn't share that kind of passion and instead just likes to fuck the customer and try to make as much money as they possibly can without any concern about the customer. So there are cases, like for example, also, you know, there are cases where legitimately you can do things, and in this case I really feel that anyone that got screwed out of the ability to play the Resident Evil 6 demo because they didn't know they had to keep their Dragon's Dogma, they should have the right to go online and play the demo. And it's that simple, and that's the last thing I'm going to say on it, because I'm tired of talking about it. I'm talking to people, oh, Phil's such a hypocrite. Fuck you. When you become an adult, you'll finally realize that the world isn't as black and white as you think it is. There was nothing morally wrong with getting a demo, which I was owed, which, by the way, is the same demo I would have downloaded if I just put a Dragon's Dogma disc inside of my fucking Xbox 360. That's the other thing. People were flipping out saying, oh no, Phil's going to get banned from Xbox Live. No, I'm not. It's the same demo I would have downloaded, and I have the key from the voucher that gave me permission to play it. So there's no way that I could get in trouble. I have permission to play it, and I played it. So that's that. I just want to mention that I did do a playthrough of the demo. It's a really good demo, by the way. Check out the playthrough if you haven't. It's actually got some pretty good views, so I think it's worth checking out, okay? So then in between all that kind of got stuck into Spider-Man Week because of the release time of that demo. Just so people didn't notice, I wanted to talk about it. But outside of that, the rest of the week was dedicated completely to Spider-Man. We played some classic games on the Genesis. We played some beat-em-ups on the SNES. We did some Sega CD stuff. I even did the Spider-Man game for PS1, which was extremely controversial because you know me. When I play games, I'm honest and I give my honest feedback. I didn't like the game because the game, I feel, is archaic at this point. It didn't age well. Maybe back in 2000 this game was great compared to other games out then. I can tell you right now it's not. You can't control the camera, the controls are wonky, and a lot of people got on my case and said, oh Phil, give it a break, it's 2000, and back then they didn't even have the DualShock controller. Yes they did. The DualShock controller's been around since 1997. The game developers were just lazy and didn't want to have the camera be able to be controlled by the right thumbstick. So when I was, you know, doing my playthrough, I was very honest. The playthrough has a bajillion thumbs down. I don't give a fuck, you know? It is what it is. I do play every single game exactly the same way, and sometimes you get an audience who grows up with the game and kind of like holds it in such high regard because, you know, this was their favorite game as a kid. That's fine, and I completely understand that. If you want to give me a thumbs down, give me a thumbs down. It doesn't affect me anyway, but if that's really what you want to do, I mean, I can't stop you. And that's that. I mean, it seems like a lot of people watch the playthrough. If you look at the views, they're actually pretty good. For a classic game, they're actually really good views, so I'm not complaining, alright? So that was Spider-Man Week, and so that was last week. Now I want to talk about what's coming up this week, because this week is going to be a very special one yet again. Like I said, no retail releases. So what are we going to do? Well, the thing I want to first of all clear up is a lot of people thought that this week was going to be fully Batman Week. But the thing is, The Dark Knight Rises comes out on July 20th in the United States. So really, I'm not going to do Batman Week yet. What we're going to do is we're going to start Batman Week on Saturday. when John Rambo is here, we're going to do a couple co-op Batman games. We're actually going to be checking out, oh, I forgot the name of it, Batman: The Rise of Sun Tzu, and we're also going to be playing Batman: Gotham City Racers. Both are two-player games. One of them obviously is, I believe, a little bit more competitive. This one is actually completely co-op kind of beat-em-up style game. We're going to be checking both of these out for our co-op Saturday this week, and that's going to be the kickoff of Batman Week, which will actually continue on Sunday and all through that next week. I've got some really good Batman games lined up, including Batman for the NES, which was actually the movie tie-in for the original Batman. Very good platformer game. I've actually never played it, but I've seen people play it. It looks great, but I also heard it's very challenging. I'm going to be starting that on Sunday of next week. Then, all through that week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're going to see Batman games, okay? So Batman Week is basically starting on Saturday into next week. So now you're probably scratching your head and you're like, oh shit, well, we thought maybe Batman Week was going to be this week. I wonder what the hell Phil's doing this week. Well, let me put it this way. I bounced a couple things around in my head. I think it's too early to go back to like Jack and Sly Cooper. I think we'll save that for a little bit later. A lot of people are asking for Mega Man X Week. I'm not doing that yet, but bear with me. Here's why. The Mega Man X series is like 8 games. So if I'm going to do a real Mega Man X Week, I want to actually set aside a giant chunk, like a giant week, a full week or more to play them. And I know that right now I can't. I'll only have Monday through Friday. It's not enough to do the whole Mega Man X Week. So what am I doing? I think you're going to like what I'm doing, regardless of the fact that it's not a couple of those things, okay? Over the years, if you've been a fan of mine, you know that there's been a certain line of games that were groundbreaking for the time. They really were like new technology. It was the new fad, if you will. It was an experiment. And it really had the potential to completely change the way that, number one, that games were made, and number two, the way that games were experienced. It really was a creative attempt at something amazing. And when this attempt happened, it wasn't even just for one genre of gaming. We're talking about, they tried it with fighting games. They tried it with survival horror games. They tried it with shooting games. They tried it with like everything you can think of. And it failed miserably. Basically, it was a massively failed experiment. At this one period of time, there were actually 3 different consoles that were all attempting stuff like this. One was called the Philips CDI, one was called the 3DO, and one, of course, was called the Sega CD. So, what I think we're going to do this week, we're going to step back in time to 1993, and we are going to experience the era of the full motion video game. That's right. That attempt by Sega to basically hire this one particular studio to try to make games that involved full motion video that could cover the entire range of gaming, and to really take their Sega CD console and try to push it out there and make it like revolutionary, to make it groundbreaking, to make it something that people would want to buy, not only because it has regular games like Amazing Spider-Man the platformer, but also because for the very first time they could digitize video and fit it on a storage medium. You know, like, let's face it, you can't fit digitized video on a Genesis cartridge. It's not possible. The storage capacity and the data processing speed isn't there. But when the Sega CD came out, that capability was added because you now had a CD that could store a significant amount of data. And so what we're going to do, I'm only going to show you just a few of the things that I have that are examples, but we're going to be exploring Digital Pictures Week. That's right. A marathon of Digital Pictures games, this particular studio that Sega hired to create these full motion video games. And we're talking the wide variety. Sewer Shark, which is probably their attempt at like kind of a racing, driving kind of a style with full motion video. Prize Fighter, which was a boxing, so they attempted sports with boxing. Ground Zero Texas, which was their attempt at a shooter game. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. I don't know what the fuck they were going for with that, but you get the gist. They tried to make so many different games with full motion video, and as you're going to see, some, in a lot more cases than others, fucking completely failed. And obviously today, as you see in most games, you don't even have video. You know what I mean? They thought that, oh, we're going to record real actors. This is going to be the way to take real life people and put them inside of video games by digitizing them, interactive video. And it just ended up not being something that people wanted. What they wanted was better graphics. They wanted 3D. They wanted simulation. They didn't want actual video of real people. So what we're going to do is explore this. And over the course of this week, we're going to be looking at many, many different games, some of which I already touched upon, such as Slam City, such as Double Switch, such as Corpse Killer. Those are games that we've already looked at previously, and I've either done some gameplay or stuff like that. But we're going to be looking at a significant amount of games from Digital Pictures that I have not touched upon. In fact, I'm almost positive that I own every single one at this point. So it's going to be pretty cool to be able to re-examine these games. What we're going to try to do, with a best college try, we're going to actually try to play these fucking games. What you're going to see is going to have hilarious results, because some of these games were pretty much unplayable, to the point where you'd be like, what the fuck were they thinking when they made this and thought that this is going to be a kind of medium that people are going to want to spend money on. It's just such an oddity that this happened that it must be explored. And I think that it's going to be interesting for some who weren't around during this time and had no idea that this stuff even existed, but I think it's also going to be fucking hilarious to see how pathetic some of these games did, to see which ones actually are kind of decent, because I can tell you, I actually do have a couple games from Digital Pictures that aren't half bad, and you're like, wow, if they had maybe kept going with this kind of a vein, maybe they would have done well. But it's kind of funny, because as we progress over the course of the week, I'm going to explain to you what ended up happening with this, and it's a pretty funny story. So, anyway, that's what we're going to see this week. You're going to see, starting tomorrow, Digital Pictures Week. It'll actually begin with an introductionary video where I'm going to show you all the games we're going to play. I'm going to talk a little bit about them, about the time, and then we're going to start. Each day we'll probably be exploring 1, 2, maybe even 3 games, depending. And we're going to see, it's not going to be, like I said, you're not going to see full playthroughs where I'm completely beating the games or anything like that, but I think it's going to be enough footage to keep you entertained. It's going to be interesting. And then on Friday, I'll probably wrap it up with like a summary of what ended up happening to this studio, and we'll go from there, and then we'll head into Batman Week on Saturday. So, really cool. I'm having fun this summer, you know what I mean? I was kind of bummed when I saw that there were no new games coming out, but already I had a cool, fun Spider-Man week, which I enjoyed thoroughly, and now I'm going to get to play Digital Pictures games, which I've been collecting and amassing to show you guys. And then we're going to get to Batman. I fucking love Batman. Like, I'm having a blast. I'm having so much fun, and I'm glad that you guys are along for the ride with me. So, stay tuned for fun stuff. We're going to be entertained, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Don't worry if I'm not playing your favorite games yet. I know a lot of people want Mega Man next week. I know a lot of people are asking for the Jack and the Sly and Ratchet & Clank when that HD collection comes out, and a lot of people are looking forward to different stuff. It's coming. It's just, I don't want to rush it and not have it in the proper time. I think it's too soon for like those PlayStation 2 games. I think it's too soon for Batman right after a superhero week with Spider-Man, and I don't have enough time for Mega Man next week this week, but they're going to happen. I promise. I'll have more information about that actually next week in the Week in Preview. So if you're interested in that, definitely watch next week's Week in Preview, okay? So that's it. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope that you're now pleased with what's coming up, and I will see you for footage this week. Thanks a lot. See you then.